Here's the first question. I want to do some Super Bowl do's and don'ts from someone who is a veteran of the big game within the last 10 years, a couple of times over. First of all, let's start there. Jimmy G, Patrick Mahomes. I don't know that it's really a consideration for Mahomes given his facial hair situation, but is it smart if you're the quarterback and you're going to be seen by literally a billion human beings, including your foes, looking across the line of scrimmage? On Super Sunday, clean shaven? Do you start the day with a good clean shave? Or do you let it go to be intimidating and rugged looking?
Listen, I haven't shaved my face in like a long time unless it was on accident. I took my beard down too close. So I'm not the one to ask, but I would say I kind of like Aaron Rodgers' kind of I've been living in a cabin recording a Bon Iver album for a couple years now, and I just came out and I'm grumpy. I'm tired of this stuff, but I still want to win the Super Bowl. Like that edgy look, I think that's my look. I want my quarterback to look a little edgy. Now, I understand the clean cut thing, and we can go back through all the Super Bowls, probably especially because beards weren't as in for those type of guys in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever it was. I think it'll be skewed towards Super Bowl winning quarterbacks being clean shaven, but I want a guy that's got some ruggedness to him under center.
Yeah, but you know what? Historical note, I'm pretty sure Bradshaw had a beard in Super Bowl IX, and Snake Stabler definitely at minimum had a Fu Manchu going in Super Bowl 11. Either way, Jimmy G should just show up carrying an axe, go over the top with it,
I love it. Next question. Jimmy needs to take a couple more days. Just grow it.
That's right.
I know vanity is a big thing when you're that good looking, but just grow it a couple days.
Super Sunday, you wake up. What do you think? Do you say like, I want a nice breakfast, or do you eat a lunch? Because both the Super Bowls you played in were in the Central Time Zone, so you could have conceivably had a breakfast and a lunch. Or did you go to brunch? How did you handle your meals on Super Sunday?
Super Sunday, I'm probably going to get 2 big solid meals. Any night game, my strategy was wake up early but not too early, grab a meal that's going to hold me over while I try to take a 3.5-hour nap.
How's that possible when you have the big game later in the same day? I can't imagine being like, well, I could get a couple Z's in here real quick.
There's ways. There's ways to put your mind at ease when you're stressed out on Super Bowl Sunday, and I need my nap because what I can't do, Dave, is I cannot sit in the room all day long and stare at a TV that's, or even like look at film. By this time, the hay is in the barn, man. Like I got nothing else I need to study. How I spent the Patriots day was exactly this way. I woke up, took got a big breakfast in me, then took a 3-hour nap, ate a big meal. Then it's time to get your ass going to the stadium. And me and Alan Branch and a couple of guys, we stopped at Walgreens first. But the way Walgreens
wait, whoa. What do you mean? There's not a team bus? You're like, yeah, we'll see you at the stadium, coach. So we'll be there. Don't worry. We'll see you there.
The thing that sucks about Super Bowl Sunday is you got to do so much ticket exchange, like in between all this stuff you try to do on your normal day. And when you're in your Super Bowl hotel, that's the most challenging nap you'll take now because it's kind of an effect where you're in a fishbowl. There's no way you don't feel the energy of the thousands of people that have descended upon not only your block, but the city, the lobby downstairs. You might not hear them, but I swear to God, you can feel it.
Oh, it's exciting, yeah.
Everything. And it's so funny to sit there and take a nap and, pop on like, if you're binge watching a TV show for 30 minutes and fall asleep and, the world's about to end or be the best night of your life in about 6-7 hours. It's the weirdest disconnect. But we went to Walgreens because we wanted to get some champagne for after the game just in case we won. So we bought the cheapest champagne. Obviously, you could buy a Walgreens or whatever it was in Houston. And we stuff it in our bag, we hide it in our bag, and we head to the stadium.
I can't imagine. If anybody got a photograph or a cell phone video of 2 members of the Eagles or Patriots getting champagne, like that would be the bulletin board material.
We already knew. But it was just a just in case thing. I mean, like that's another funny thing is like, when you do things that lead, like when Joe Burrow says they got fitted for the ring beforehand, what's wrong with expecting to win? And if you don't need the ring, use it on your wedding day. It's not a big deal. And hey, guess what? That cheap champagne is going to get drank whether we win or lose.
It's also got to be so meta to watch a pregame show, the Super Bowl pregame show. Wow. I'm going to be in that game. Let's hear what they're talking about. What are the keys to victory for us tonight?
And also, just like the last thing I want to think about is that game. Like, because I, as somebody who would just sit there and ruminate and be anxious as hell, want to just get my mind off it. And honestly, half the time you wake up on Sunday morning for a game, whether it's a noon game or the Super Bowl, and you don't know where the hell you are because you got your best night of sleep of the week. You know, like there's no kids in the hotel room. You got to bed early. There was no 7 a.m. wake-up call for a normal 8 a.m. meeting that you have, or 6:30 if you have treatment. I just slept my ass off, and I wake up, and I'm like, where am I? You know, like that happened to me both Super Bowls, and then you're waking up, and you're looking in the mirror, and you're like, my God, dude, I know I'm brushing my teeth like a normal day, but tonight is the night that I could either be embarrassed forever or be a legend.
I completely, yes. When you're on your wedding day, like, you know, you pee and you're like, this is the last pee I will take as a single man. Like, I can't imagine, like, this could be my last pee before I am a world champion for the rest of the time.
Two. I think number 2 is probably on both of our minds here, but you opted for the number 1.
I can't imagine even that. Like, what if you were having a bad day in that regard? It's like, yeah, now today's the day I got to play the Super Bowl. Can we push it to tomorrow?
Scariest thing in the world, getting ready for a Super Bowl, not losing, not winning, but for me, the prospect of not being at my best, getting a cold, getting the flu. Like, imagine you've waited your whole life for this. I waited my entire career for, through 1-15, 2-14, all that junk, and I'm here. And, like, imagine I roll my ankle in practice on Friday in a walkthrough. Imagine, so during Super Bowl week of practice, I don't care who got mad at me. I was walking around. Another thing is the second Super Bowl I was in with the Eagles, it was in Minneapolis. Half the team was sick on both sides. And I was sick. I was real sick. And I'm sitting there 2 nights before, when you start to get sick and you're like, am I getting sick? Am I getting sick? Am I getting sick? I'm like, oh, no, I'm getting sick. I feel weak, that sort of thing. And that weak kind of achy feeling comes on. And I'm like, I got to play a game in 2 days. Scariest thing ever. And half the team is sick because we're staying in the Mall of America. It's a germ bubble. Pats on one end. Eagles on the other. I remember getting dinner at Benihana with some of the guys and then meeting up in secrecy behind Sephora with some of my old friends from the Patriots. Like, hey, can we talk? Like, are we good? Like, are we allowed to be seen here being friends? Like, because we're playing in 3 days. The entire dynamic is weird, dude.
Oh, man, those are great stories. Yeah, I remember talking to you early in the week when you were on the Eagles and saying, if you sack Tom Brady, having just won a Super Bowl with him, when you sack him, are you like, I'm so sorry, man. I really feel bad that I had to do that.
Yeah, I mean, not at all. I would have been really excited to sack Tom. And one of the plays in my career that gets me bummed out the most, even though it was right before we won the Super Bowl, was I was an inch from strip sacking him on the goal line when he completed that ball to Dola for on that 4th and 8.
I remember exactly, yes.
BG got his strip sack, and we were like, we won the game, yes. And I'm like, okay, now we're playing with house money. If I go get the last strip sack, I can be a hero, even though it really didn't matter as much as BG's. And I remember beating, who was it on the edge? And I'm thinking to myself, it's happening. And then I just miss him. Actually, I got held, but I want that play back more than anything in my career. There was zero worry in my mind. If I'd have crushed Tom, I would have been happy. I don't care if he got up slow. You just want that Super Bowl sack so bad.
Last thing about the do's and don'ts or related stuff. Super Sunday, who gave the better pregame speech, Peterson or Belichick?
I don't remember either of them.
Really? I've always heard that Belichick doesn't do anything like that, that's the stuff of movies, and Belichick is just like, do your job and let's go get it.
I remember player speeches. Coaches, listen, by the time a coach gives you a talk on Saturday night, you want to go to bed, right? Saturday night meetings, whether it's before the Super Bowl or before a game, in my opinion, no matter who's giving them, are always the dumbest thing in the world. You want me to sit for 3 hours and shorten my hip flexors, and this is coming up again. It's a recurring theme. We got to be in an optimal position because I got a bad back. If I sit in a meeting for 3 hours at 33 years old, I could get back spasms, and the next day my game's in jeopardy. And then by the time the coach talks, you're like, I'm a pit bull on a leash. Get me off the leash. I remember player speeches. I remember Brian Brayman, who was mostly a special teams guy, before the Super Bowl giving the most psychotic speech I've ever heard. Ever. There's things he said in this speech that I cannot repeat and will never repeat without his permission on any podcast or show. I remember those. I don't remember the coaches as well.
Oh, we got to get him to recreate that somewhere. That'd be good stuff.
Oh, boy.
Maybe he could do that for the Niners or Chiefs for the right price.
He's a fitness influencer now. If you look at Brian Brayman, shout out to Brian. He's on Instagram. But he was this psychotic dude that looked like he was cast out of either a biker movie with long hair, probably would be covering tattoos, or like Game of Thrones. Like, one of the two, the mixture. And he would run down on kickoff and try to just end people. And so we gave him the floor, and it was no problem because of the way he played. Nobody was going to tell him. He was an absolute psycho before games, and he knocked it out of the park.